for this verdict. Uh, but I will quickly say that they will experience the loss of their loved one, George, for the rest of their lives. And quite frankly, this family, the friends, the community as a whole. My prayers go out to the George Floyd family, go out to each and every one of them. I talked with them this morning, some of them, and so my prayers go out to each and every one of them. And in addition to that, my prayers go out to this country because there is a lot of pain, there are a lot of hurts, there are a lot of frustrations, divisions. So my prayers are extended to this country. The jury has spoken, but now is also time for our country to reach deep down and find a way to move forward. Because as we deal with issues on multiple levels, we need a community and our law enforcement agency and law enforcement agencies and communities to be working hand in hand in the best interest of the people that we serve. So I will continue to pray for George Floyd family, and I will continue to pray for our country. This is not one of those moments where you say where you can say we've accomplished our mission or mission accomplished, anything like that. It's not a time to jump up and down. It is a time to be very reflective and to ask what can we do collectively, each and every one of us, so to make our cities better, to make our state, our country better. And so it's a time to be very reflective and then find ways to work together. We have a lot of work to do, and in this city, we are committed to doing just that. We are committed to implementing the overwhelming majority of the recommendations that were made by the Mayor's Task Force on Police Reforms. This verdict doesn't diminish the need for that in any way. It simply means that now we must move forward to take steps to implement many of those recommendations. And saying that, next week there will be a number of announcements as it relates to those Mayor's Task Force recommendations. Look, as a community, as a city, as a country, we have to work through this because, quite frankly, we're all in it. We're all in this together. So let's just continue to work together to move forward. Let me yield now to Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm proud to stand with you today and in the presence of our entire community. This is not a celebration, as the mayor said, but I want to give thanks to the Floyd family. They have shown America, and they have shown the world how when you are in pain, you stand up with class and you bring people together. And if the Floyd family could stand up in peace and bringing people together, surely to God, everybody else can. It's a day of reflection, but it's also a day of healing and a message to everyone that no one is above the law, and especially those of us who take an oath and swear to uphold the law and protect one another. So to our communities out throughout the nation, just remember this day. Sometimes justice takes a little while, but it's gonna get there. And I want the city of Houston and everybody to stand up and make sure that we concentrate on those who are doing bad, police officers or criminals, and make sure the good people come together. So it's not anything to celebrate, but it's a day of reflection, and I hope we do it the right way. I know the questions are gonna be asked, what are we expecting? And we always in the city of Houston, we prepare for the worst and we pray for the best. I don't expect anything major, but we have resources out there to respond to whatever we need to. And if there's anybody in the city that wants to celebrate, we're gonna be there with you. do it the right way. Respect everybody, and let's get through the night and the days to come. The mayor has said it. The task force, he's going to make some announcements next week. I think our citizens are going to be very proud of what the mayor's task force has done. But let's just take care of one another in our city. Thank you.
Okay. We'll take questions from anyone.
Question first for the chief, if
Sure,
that's okay.
sure,
I'm
absolutely.
going to state the obvious, chief.
Yeah.
You're a black man, you're a police officer, you grew up in the neighborhood. You have a unique perspective on this case and the verdict today. Your thoughts as you watched it unfold.
Let's start from the very beginning. As an African-American man, as a man in general, as a police officer who has spent my entire adult life serving, I was hurt. I was angry, just as anybody else. I'm just glad to see justice done, regardless of what race you are. And I tell people that all the time. Look at a person's heart. You know, there is a problem with young males of color being shot. We're going to work on that. But I think that the public and our nation, you can look at this and say, you know what, nobody's above the law, and everybody's going to be held accountable. And I don't want to lose that message. Thank you.
Mayor, you said this is a time for reflection.
Yes.
What are you personally reflecting upon as you consider what may be the beginning of justice?
Well, look, then when you look back almost a year ago, and to see the officer's knee on George Floyd's neck in the middle of the day while people were out there, that was tough. But what it says is that as a country, we have a lot of work to do, and it does require this is a lot of healing that needs to take place, but a lot of work that needs to take place, because the community and the police, law enforcement have to work hand in hand in order for us to really work to benefit and serve the people in our respective cities. It requires all of us working together. Troy Fenner, as the police chief or police officer, is not my enemy, and I'm not his enemy. Okay. But I do know we work best when we work together. Somehow we've got to get that message. But training is critically important. Understanding that everyone has to be treated with dignity and respect, that's important. Understanding that if I see somebody doing something wrong, whether I'm the mayor or whether I'm a police officer and there's another police officer or there's another elected official, you name it, we have a responsibility to call that out and to intervene. All of that's important. So there's a lot of work that we all have to do to move forward so that we don't have to experience these moments again. And that's my thinking. What do we need to do so that we don't have to relive these moments over and over and over again? And so you have to be reflective, and then we have to take the necessary steps to make the society in which we live better. And the society is made of people at multiple levels. So that's what I'm saying. This is not a jump up and down moment. This is, it's been painful, but it's been painful for many families, not just the George Floyd family. And then, quite frankly, if you're a police officer and you're accused, you have a family too. Okay. So we need what I can tell you is that we need each other. We need police officers. Okay, we need them. I was at a town hall meeting last night, and Chief Fenner was there. And I heard from people in the community, in communities like the one in which George Floyd grew up in this city, saying, Mayor, we need police officers. We want to see them. But it is important that when we show up, we do our jobs, and we do it right. And we do it in a respectful sense. So we got a lot of work to do, and we'll just have to move forward and get the job done.
There's a lot of people saying, and you guys have alluded to this as well, saying that the real justice will be done in the work sort of to reform police, and like you said, make sure that this isn't happening over and over again. You said there's going to be some announcements next week, but maybe you can just elaborate on sort of what you guys are trying to do, and sort of address the concerns of people that that reform isn't happening quickly.
Well, you know, I think we sometimes try to look at things in isolation, and that's not always an easy thing to do. Reforms will take, and you will. It's not like putting in one reform and you're not having to constantly upgrade and update. Reform is a constant sort of deal. There's no just a set of principles that you put in place. Quite frankly, it starts from the time you recruit, from day one, okay? And training is always a part, and you're always going to have to improve on training. So it's not a one and done sort of deal. And then you're constantly having to put resources to provide the necessary training. And then we've got, it's important to invest in communities. So it's not just about reforming, let's say, within the police department. It's also recognizing that there are people who find themselves in crisis because of mental, behavioral health issues or substance abuse issues. And it's important for legislators and others to provide the necessary resources to invest in those communities. Upgrading those communities, just like my Complete Community Initiative, because there are communities that have been underserved and under-resourced for a long time, like the community in Third Ward that George Floyd's family grew up in. So it's investing in those communities in a real and tangible way. It's also recognizing that when you see kids, that you see promise and don't see predators. That's important, okay? So reform should not just be looked at in terms of law enforcement. There are a lot of reforms that need to take place systemically in multiple organizations and in multiple ways. So I have the Mayor's Task Force recommendations. We will move forward on them, okay? And we'll start to make some announcements on them. And then we'll just continue to work to make a meaningful, positive difference in the lives of people who live within in our city. Chief, I'm sorry.
You said it? Nope, I was good.
Okay.
Another question?
Chief, obviously HPD is an institution with a long established set of patterns and trainings that don't shift. You're a giant ship, really, aren't you, in navigating the waters here? Do you expect to make some dramatic moves in the way policing happens in particularly communities of color, or is this going to be something that is going to be
We have pretty good relationships here. We're not without problems. When you're in a city of 2.3 million and over 5,300 police officers, you're going to have a few problems. But let me just say this. Training is always evolving. And if you're not trying to learn something or learning something from critical incidents every day, you're going to fail. So you have a Houston Police Department that we look at every incident very critically, and we're going to look at tactics, our training, and everything else we can look at, because the goal is to get everybody home safe, not just police officers, our entire community. We have to de-escalate when we can, and we have to do everything that we can do. The sanctity of life is the most important thing, and our training should be around that, and it should be evolving. It shouldn't. We shouldn't have policies just stay forever. If we need to change to make it better and safer for the community, that's what you're going to see, and I think we've done that, and we'll continue to do it.
Let me just say this. And we cannot ask police to do everything, okay? You can't ask them to do everything. Because when you ask them to do everything, then you're asking them to show up for everything. We got to get away from that. And so when it comes, for example, to mental health funding and treatment, We have to make that readily available. When it comes to substance abuse treatment, we have to make that readily available. When it comes to investing in our schools, we have to make that available. So there are a number of things. When it comes to not passing bills that allow guns to be everywhere, that's a part of the reforms, okay? That's a part of it. And so we have to address those sort of issues as well. So there's a lot that needs to take place, and everybody has to be responsible and accountable to addressing those elements within our society where it adds an added burden on communities that have been overlooked for a long, long time. In many cases, these are communities of color. These are communities of color. And so until we come to grips with those realities, then things like this will continue to take place and happen. So we'll move forward on the reforms on the city's end as it relates to the mayor's task force recommendations. But there are a lot of other things that need to take place at the same time. Okay?
Good.
Okay, thank you all so very much.
Good
Appreciate it.
job.